It's time for another episode of College List Deathmatch. My name is Craig Meister. I'm a college admissions coach. You can learn more about me and how you can work with me one-on-one throughout the entire college admissions process on my website, collegemeister.com. I've done a number of these over the years, and basically the premise is this. There used to be a show on MTV called Celebrity Deathmatch, and they had these claymations of celebrities go into a boxing ring, and one claymation had to kill the other claymation. Very gory, very violent, very MTV of the 1990s. And, it was an interesting show. But one claymation had to win. It had to kill the other one. And that's basically the premise of this short little video today, which is we're going to put two colleges up against each other and have me determine which one kills the other in terms of taking a space. No real violence. No one's going to really get hurt, and no institution is going to get hurt. No one should ever practice violence. But which institution should remain standing on your list if it comes down to these two competing for one final slot on your college list? Now, again, obviously every individual is unique. So do not take this as medical advice or financial advice or any other sort of type of advice. This is infotainment, but it is my opinion, and you may trust my opinion, so I will give it to you. UC San Diego versus UC Santa Barbara. Those are the two institutions competing today in College List Deathmatch. And here we go. These are both great institutions in California. California has very well reputed institutions of higher learning, and many of them are, of course, the UCs. There are also some other strong public institutions in California. You may have heard, of course, of UC Berkeley and UCLA. You may not have heard as much about UC San Diego and UC Santa Barbara, but these are still excellent institutions. But they are different. But it's very possible that they could both occupy headspace in your brain. And you may be in a situation where you can't apply to endless numbers of schools. And so you've come down to UC Santa Barbara versus UC San Diego. Which one should you choose to include on your list? Or you may even be in a situation where you get into both of them eventually, and you have to determine the right one for you. So you've come to the right video today. Here's my thoughts. They're very different schools culturally, even though they're obviously both in California. For people out of state, they don't really see much of a difference. They're both in Southern California. Southern California is known as being sunny and happy and pretty and beautiful and, forward thinking and progressive and all these fun things. And so you really got to dig in more to the details. Obviously, what majors are on offer at these schools? Where have you or will you be applying in terms of specific majors? Obviously, that's highly important. And I cannot customize this video enough to make it that bespoke to you. But what I will say is, let's say the major you're looking at is basically at both schools. I mean, basically what you want to study is at both schools. And therefore, that's why you're really having a hard time narrowing it down between these two as to maybe put them on as a reach, because both of them are reaches for you, or maybe both of them are sort of possibles for you, or maybe both of them are sort of safeties for you. There are situations in which one of them would maybe be more of a reach than a safe, and the other would be a possible, or one would be more of a safety and the other would be a possible. But these are pretty comparable schools these days, especially I think for out-of-state kids. They're pretty comparable, but even in-state kids. I mean, these are schools that are ranked very closely. I think that generally speaking, UC Santa Barbara is just ranked a hair below UC San Diego. Now, again, 30 years ago, obviously, UC San Diego and UC Santa Barbara were less in demand. But these days, they're both very much in demand. I think UC Santa Barbara has always had more of a social life reputation, whereas UC San Diego has always been known as sort of more straight and narrow academics, and a greater diversity of sort of social activities than maybe you would get at Santa Barbara. So that still sort of holds true today. I mean, obviously San Diego is a diverse metropolitan area. I mean, it's a city. Okay. So Santa Barbara is much more of a soap opera. Literally, it used to be one, but also it's a suburb. It's not a city. I mean, it is a city, but it's not a big city. It's a suburban area and very on the beach. San Diego is on a city on the beach, but they're very different otherwise. I mean, there's not so much going on in Santa Barbara. There's much more to be had in and around campus at UC San Diego. So if social life is or social the social life of the institution is important, many students really start differentiating on the social side because look, they're both very dynamic social environments, but they're very different social environments. And I would say that again, one is in a city and one is in a beautiful beach town, is how I would really frame it. And the culture of the schools sort of run from there. Beyond that, there are differences in size. I should state that 33,000 undergraduates roughly right now at UC San Diego is quite a bit larger than roughly 23,000 undergraduates at UC Santa Barbara. So you're getting 10,000 extra undergrads at UC Santa Barbara. It's bigger. I think it's more diverse, obviously, in terms of things to do around and off campus at UC San Diego than it is at UC Santa Barbara. The housing situation is interesting in the sense that there is a college system at UC San Diego that tries to make the university sort of smaller and almost like copying the residential college system of other schools like a Rice or a Yale to some extent, or even the schools in the UK, where you sort of are anchored to a college, not based off of your major, but based off of sort of your living, learning, cultural environment. The advising is sort of hooked with the college at UC San Diego, whereas at UC Santa Barbara, it's just more of a traditional, you're not associated with people based off of the assignment you get in terms of your college right off the bat. And so there are actually even different courses that you take based off the college assignment you get at UC San Diego. Nothing like that. I mean, that does not exist at UC Santa Barbara or most other institutions, frankly. So that's a unique thing about UC Santa Barbara, if you like it. Sort of to make the place smaller, they sort of have this interesting college system at UC San Diego, excuse me. Overall, I would say that I find that the students are just a little bit more, they are more sort of academic writ large at UC San Diego. And therefore, I'd also say it's sort of a little less laid back at UC San Diego than it is at UC Santa Barbara. And so if you're looking for a UC that is strong on the beach, near the beach, right, very close to the beach, laid back, graceful, beautiful people, smart people, strong. Both are very strong in the sciences, I should say. They're both very strong in the sciences, slightly different sciences they're strong at. So again, look at your major and make sure that you're happy. Go in depth with the research to make sure you're happy about the quality of the actual major you're looking at. That obviously trumps everything I'm talking about here today, really, because every major is very different. But what I would say, I would say that they're strong in the sciences both, and both being near the beach, I think that makes sense too. There's options in terms of, STEM is obviously UC San Diego. I think of STEM, whereas I think more of humanities, though they're again strong environmental science at UC Santa Barbara, and the social sciences, arts at UC Santa. La Jolla is an interesting neighborhood of San Diego, and it's a nice neighborhood. It's a nice upper crust neighborhood of San Diego. So it's interesting. It's not like it's in a horrible San Diego neighborhood, as opposed to, some of these public schools are not in the best neighborhoods anymore. But really, the good news is they're both pretty nice neighborhoods. If it's a little more, it's a bigger city. It feels more like an urban school, even though it's California. Things are more spread out there than they ever are on the East Coast. So you really have to gauge what is best for you. In terms of me, this is Craig's opinion now. I personally, as an institution, if I'm putting on my academic hat and going to college for academics above all else, and it has my major, it's strong in my major, I feel like I would be giving up on the social life that's a little bit more associated with the traditional American college campus if I go to UC San Diego, but I would be doing it for the academics. If I go to UC Santa Barbara, the academics are strong. By all means, it's still strong. But again, the campus culture is more in line on a beach or a beach town with what you would sort of typically associate with a strong public flagship university in lots of different states. It's sort of like more that vibe in terms of the diversity of sort of value systems of students. Not everyone's going to be so academic. There are going to be a lot of people that are very vigorous social lives. Again, you can have a vigorous social life at San Diego, UC San Diego, but I think it's more grounded in academics or sort of the urban nature of San Diego or something in San Diego. Whereas the social life is very uniquely Santa Barbara in terms of vibe. Again, the word vibe, I'm not the hugest fan of usually, because that sort of seems like saying, oh, the weather is going to be interesting tomorrow. What are you really saying? It could be really bad weather. It could be really great weather. What does interesting mean? But I will throw out the vibe word because the vibes are very different. And this is why I'm a huge proponent of visiting, because even though they are both in Southern California is a big place. It's a diverse place. Santa Barbara is more of an enclave that is it's an expensive enclave. Let's just put it that way. San Diego has its expensive enclaves, including La Jolla, but it's a big city. It's a big city with all types of people, all different classes, all different types of stuff going on. And you get that vibe. You get that vibe. It's just it's a little more diverse off campus, and it's also more academically, I think, focused overall at UC San Diego, whereas UC Santa Barbara, students are prioritizing in many cases the quality of life that they want is at Santa Barbara. So I personally would go, if I'm focused purely on academics and just academics for my 4 years, I would do UC San Diego. If I'm going more though toward work-life balance, school-life balance, developing not just as a student, but as a person, personally for me, I like to do it in a less buzha environment. And I would say that would be, buzha, is that a word? It's my word, I just used it. I would probably do that at UC Santa Barbara because I think it's a nice quality of life that you're not probably going to have again in your life. Because, well, you might, but, and I hope you do, but it's a pretty nice vibe, I think. Again, everyone has their own opinion. So today, at least, I would say, because both our academics are very strong, why not live at large for 4 years and go to UC Santa Barbara? I would say UC Santa Barbara has won this edition of the College List Deathmatch by yours truly, hosted by yours truly. And again, I love UC San Diego as well. It's a great school. There's nothing wrong with it. But I personally think the quality of life would draw me enough to UC Santa Barbara, where I could always live in San Diego again. I don't know if I could live in Santa Barbara again, especially if I major in history, which I did. I majored in history. So there you go. It would be a long time until I could get back to, happily, to Santa Barbara, whereas you can be in and around San Diego the rest of your life. So that's unique. So I would say, let's do Santa Barbara. UC Santa Barbara, even though on the U.S. News and World Report ranking list, it is ranked lower. Again, this is a very personal decision, and you should never go by rankings alone, but they're very closely ranked. This may surprise you. So again, I say UC Santa Barbara. Is there theme music to the old soap opera Santa Barbara? No. Should I put that on? No, I won't. But there was a soap opera called Santa Barbara. For those of us who lived pre-internet, there was a soap opera called Santa Barbara because it's like one of those places like Dallas back in the day. People sort of aspire to live on a big estate in Dallas or in a big mansion in Santa Barbara. So they would name these soap operas after places like what was it? 90210. That was a nighttime soap opera, right? In the 90s too. That's a very famous zip code now. All these sort of, let's strive to be in these places. Well, Santa Barbara is still a place that you may want to strive for, or that type of lifestyle. So why not do it for 4 years? You only live once. You might as well enjoy it. Go to UC Santa Barbara. My name is not College Meister, but I am the College Meister. You can go to my website, collegemeister.com, to learn more about me. I'm Craig Meister. Until next time, stay safe, stay well, and most importantly, this is very important now, stay Santa Barbara has made me stutter. Stay stress-free throughout the entire college admissions process.